Several other job candidates turned to stare at them, their expensive suits and polished appearances making Camille feel even more out of place. "I'm just nervous, baby," Camille whispered, trying to smooth down Sophia's damp curls. The babysitter had cancelled at the last minute, and Camille had no choice but to bring her daughter along. The rent was due tomorrow, and she had exactly $12 in her bank account. This administrative assistant position was her last hope. Mrs. Patterson, the elderly receptionist, looked up from her desk with kind eyes. "Are you here for the interview, dear?" "Yes, I'm Camille Washington. I know I'm late and I'm so sorry about bringing my daughter. My babysitter." "Don't worry about it, honey. These things happen. Have a seat and I'll let them know you're here." As they sat on the leather chairs, Sophia swung her legs and looked around the impressive lobby with wide eyes. "Mommy, is this where rich people work?" "Sure, baby." "Please keep your voice down," Camille said, noticing more stares from the other candidates. "But why does everyone look so fancy? And why do you cry at night sometimes when you think I'm sleeping?" Sophia's voice carried again and Camille felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment. One of the candidates, a woman in an expensive suit, whispered something to her companion while looking at them with obvious disapproval. Camille wanted to disappear into the floor. "I don't cry, sweetheart. Sometimes grown-ups just have to think about important things," Camille said, pulling Sophia closer. "Is thinking about money one of those important things? Because I heard you talking on the phone about money yesterday." Before Camille could respond, Mrs. Patterson called out, "Camille Washington? Mr. Bennett will see you now." Camille's stomach dropped. She had expected to interview with someone from Human Resources, not the CEO himself. Theodore Bennett was known throughout the city as a brilliant businessman and billionaire. What was he doing conducting interviews for an administrative position? "Can my daughter wait here?" Camille asked Mrs. Patterson. "Actually, Mr. Bennett specifically asked that you bring her along. He said children are welcome in his office." Sophia perked up immediately. "I get to meet the boss man?" As they walked down the hallway toward the executive offices, Camille tried to prepare herself for disaster. Her daughter was sweet but had no filter, and there was no telling what she might say to one of the most powerful men in the city. The double doors to Theodore Bennett's office opened, revealing a spacious room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Behind an impressive mahogany desk sat a man who looked younger than Camille had expected. Theodore Bennett appeared to be in his early 30s, with kind brown eyes and an approachable smile that immediately put her at ease. "Ms. Washington, please come in. And this must be your daughter." "I'm Sophia," her daughter announced, walking right up to his desk without any hesitation. "Are you the boss of this whole building?" Theodore chuckled, standing up and walking around his desk to kneel down to Sophia's eye level. "I am." "It's very nice to meet you, Sophia. That's a beautiful name." "Thank you. Mommy says I shouldn't talk to strangers, but you seem nice. Plus you have a good smile. Bad people don't smile like that." Camille wanted to melt into the carpet. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Bennett." "She's very outgoing. Please don't apologize. I think honesty is refreshing." He stood up and gestured to the chairs across from his desk. "Please both of you have a seat." As they settled into the chairs, Sophia continued to study Theodore with the intense curiosity only a 5-year-old could possess. "Mr. Bossman, why don't you have any pictures of your family on your desk? Everyone else has pictures." Theodore's smile faltered slightly, and something sad flickered in his eyes. "I don't have a family to put pictures of, Sophia." "That's really sad. Everyone should have a family. Don't you get lonely?" "Sophia, please," Camille said, mortified by her daughter's boldness. "It's all right," Theodore said softly. "Yes, sometimes I do get lonely." Sophia nodded solemnly as if this made perfect sense to her. "Well, maybe you just haven't found the right family yet. Sometimes families aren't the ones you're born with. Sometimes they're the ones who choose to love you." The wisdom in her daughter's words caught Camille off guard. She had no idea where Sophia had heard something like that, but it seemed to have a profound effect on Theodore as well. "That's very wise, Sophia. Now, should we talk about why your mommy is here today?" Camille straightened in her chair, trying to regain some semblance of professionalism. "Yes, sir. I'm here about the administrative assistant position. I know my resume might not show a lot of experience, but I'm a hard worker and I learn quickly. Before we discuss your qualifications, can you tell me a little about your situation? Mrs. Patterson mentioned you had some challenges getting here today." Camille hesitated, not wanting to air her personal problems to a potential employer, but something in Theodore's manner encouraged honesty. "My babysitter canceled at the last minute, and I didn't have anyone else to watch Sophia. I know it's unprofessional to bring her to an interview, but I couldn't afford to miss this opportunity. Have you ever wondered what would happen if a child's innocent words could change someone's entire life? Can a simple question from a 5-year-old really touch the heart of a powerful billionaire? Subscribe to find out how this heartwarming story unfolds, and let us know in the comments what you think will happen next. Theodore leaned back in his chair, studying both of them with those thoughtful brown eyes. What kind of work experience do you have? I've worked as a waitress, a retail clerk, and most recently as a receptionist at a small law firm. I'm good with computers, I'm organized, and I'm not afraid of hard work. I'll do whatever it takes to take care of my daughter. Sophia had been quietly coloring in a small notepad she'd pulled from her backpack, but she suddenly looked up at Theodore. My mommy is the best worker in the whole world. She never complains even when people are mean to her. And she always makes sure I have food even if she doesn't eat sometimes. Camille's heart sank as Sophia revealed more than she intended. Sophia. It's true, Mommy. Remember when you gave me your sandwich last week and said you weren't hungry? But your stomach was making noises. Theodore's expression grew more serious and Camille wanted to disappear. This interview was going from bad to worse. Here she was, essentially admitting to this successful businessman that she couldn't even feed herself properly. Mr. Bennett, I can explain. He held up a hand to stop her. Ms. Washington, there's no need to explain. I can see that you're a devoted mother who's doing everything she can for her daughter. That tells me more about your character than any resume ever could. The kindness in his voice made tears spring to Camille's eyes, but she blinked them back. She couldn't afford to break down now, not in front of her potential boss and certainly not in front of Sophia. Now, Theodore continued, let's talk about this position. The salary is $60,000 a year, with full health benefits and a generous vacation package. Camille's mouth dropped open. That was more than twice what she had expected for an administrative position. Are you sure that's right? Quite sure. We believe in paying our employees well. A happy employee is a productive employee. Sophia bounced in her chair. Mommy, that means we can get our own apartment without the scary people next door. Camille felt her cheeks burn again, but Theodore seemed genuinely interested in what Sophia was saying. Scary people? He asked gently. The people in the apartment next to us are really loud at night and sometimes they smell funny. Mommy says we'll move soon, but I know she's worried about money. Theodore's jaw tightened slightly, and Camille could see a protective instinct flash in his eyes. It was the same look she got when someone threatened Sophia's well-being. The interview continued, with Theodore asking thoughtful questions about her skills and experience. But what struck Camille most was how he included Sophia in the conversation, asking her about school and her interests. He seemed genuinely interested in getting to know both of them, not just evaluating her as a potential employee. As the interview wound down, Theodore stood up and walked around his desk again. Ms. Washington, I'd like to offer you the position. Camille's heart soared, but before she could respond, Sophia jumped up from her chair and walked right up to Theodore. She looked up at him with those big, innocent eyes and asked the question that would change all their lives forever. Mr. Boss Man, Sophia said, tugging on Theodore's expensive suit jacket to get his attention. I have something very important to ask you. Theodore knelt down again, bringing himself to her eye level. There was something about this little girl that drew him in. Maybe it was her fearless honesty or the way she seemed to see straight through to his soul. What is it, Sophia? Camille watched nervously, having no idea what her daughter might say next. Sophia had always been precocious, but being in the presence of such an important man seemed to have amplified her boldness rather than intimidating her. You said you don't have a family, right? Sophia asked seriously. That's right, Theodore replied, wondering where this was going. And you get lonely sometimes? Yes, I do. Sophia nodded as if she were solving a complex puzzle. Well, me and Mommy don't have a daddy. Mommy gets sad sometimes too, especially when she thinks I'm not looking. Maybe we could help each other. Theodore felt his heart skip a beat. There was something about this child's pure innocence that cut right through all his defenses. He glanced up at Camille, who looked mortified and was shaking her head slightly. What do you mean, sweetheart? Theodore asked gently. I mean, you could be our family and we could be yours. That way nobody would be lonely anymore. Sophia stated this as if it were the most logical solution in the world. Theodore was quiet for a moment, absorbing the simple wisdom of a 5-year-old. He had built a business empire, made billions of dollars, and commanded respect from the most powerful people in the country. But he had never felt as moved as he did right now, listening to this little girl offer to share her family with him. Sophia, that's very sweet of you to offer, he said carefully, aware that Camille was watching his every reaction. But families are complicated things. No, they're not, Sophia said matter-of-factly. Families are just people who love each other and take care of each other. That's not complicated at all. Theodore looked up at Camille, who had tears in her eyes. I'm so sorry, Mr. Bennett. She doesn't understand. Actually, Theodore said, standing up slowly, I think she understands better than most adults do. He walked back around his desk and pulled out his phone. Ms. Washington, I know this is unusual, but would you mind if I had my assistant Ben prepare some paperwork for you? I'd like to get your employment started immediately. Immediately? Camille asked, confused. Don't you need references or background checks or? I'm a good judge of character, Theodore said, dialing his assistant. Ben, I need you to prepare a new employee packet for Camille Washington. She'll be starting as my executive administrative assistant tomorrow. Executive assistant? Camille stammered. But the position was for. I'm promoting you, Theodore said with a smile. Executive assistants make $75,000 a year, plus bonuses. Camille felt dizzy. This morning she had been worried about making rent, and now this man was offering her a job that would completely change her and Sophia's lives. But why? She asked. You barely know me. Theodore looked at Sophia, who was now sitting in his chair and pretending to be the boss. Sometimes you just know when something is right. Ben Carter knocked on the door and entered. He was a efficient-looking man in his 40s who had worked for Theodore for over 10 years. Sir, you wanted to see me? Ben, meet Camille Washington, our new executive assistant, and her daughter Sophia. Ben looked surprised but recovered quickly. Nice to meet you both. Hi, Mr. Ben, Sophia said cheerfully from behind Theodore's desk. I'm going to be working here too, kind of. I'm going to help my mommy be the best assistant ever. Ben smiled despite himself. Well, that sounds like a great plan. Ben, I need you to arrange for Ms. Washington's first month's salary to be advanced today, along with a signing bonus. Also, I want you to find her a suitable apartment near the office. Company housing allowance should cover it. Company housing allowance? Ben asked, consulting his tablet. Sir, we don't have a company housing allowance program. We do now, Theodore said firmly. Also, make sure Ms. Washington has access to the company health plan immediately, including dental and vision for both her and Sophia. Camille stood up abruptly, overwhelmed by the generosity. Mr. Bennett, this is too much. I can't accept all of this. Sophia spun around in the chair to face her mother. Mommy, remember what you always tell me about gifts? When someone gives you something nice, you say thank you and accept it with a happy heart. Theodore chuckled. Your daughter is very wise. But this is more than just being nice, Camille protested. This is life-changing money and you don't even know us. I know enough, Theodore said. I know that you're a mother who would rather go hungry than let her child suffer. I know that you raised a daughter who sees loneliness in a stranger and wants to help. I know that you came to this interview in the rain, on time despite having no babysitter, because you're determined to provide for your family. That tells me everything I need to know about your character. Tears were flowing down Camille's cheeks now. She had spent so many nights worrying about how she would take care of Sophia, wondering if she was strong enough to do it all alone. She had never imagined that help could come from such an unexpected place. Mr. Bennett, she said softly, I don't know how to thank you. You don't need to thank me. Just do good work and let me get to know you and Sophia better. Sophia had climbed down from the chair and was now exploring the office. She stopped at a bookshelf filled with business awards and trophies. Mr. Bossman, you have a lot of prizes. Those are business awards, Theodore explained. Do they make you happy? Theodore paused, considering the question. Not really, no. Then why do you keep them? That's a very good question, Sophia. I'm not sure I know the answer. Sophia nodded as if this made perfect sense to her. Maybe you should get some different prizes. Like pictures of people you love, or drawings that kids make for you, or cookies that someone bakes just because they want you to smile. Theodore felt something shift in his chest. When was the last time someone had done something for him just to make him smile? When was the last time he had felt genuine joy instead of just professional satisfaction? Would you like to see your new office, Ms. Washington? He asked. I have my own office? Executive assistants always do. Ben, would you show them around? As Ben led them out of Theodore's office, Sophia turned back and waved. Bye, Mr. Bossman. Thank you for giving Mommy a job and for being nice to us. Thank you, Sophia, for reminding me what's important. After they left, Theodore stood alone in his office, looking out at the city skyline. For the first time in years, he felt something he hadn't experienced since he was a child himself. The possibility of belonging to something bigger than his own ambition. His phone buzzed with a text from his mother, as if the universe had perfect timing. "Theodore, when are you going to find a nice girl and give me some grandchildren? You work too much and live too little." For the first time ever, he found himself actually considering the question instead of dismissing it immediately. Maybe Sophia was right. Maybe families weren't complicated at all. Maybe they were just people who chose to love each other. He looked at his desk, now empty of the awards that had once seemed so important, and smiled. Tomorrow he decided he would ask Ben to have those moved to storage. It was time to make room for something more meaningful. As he prepared to leave the office, Theodore realized that this had been the best interview he had ever conducted. Not because he had found the perfect employee, but because a 5-year-old had somehow found the missing piece of his life that he hadn't even known he was looking for. The rain had stopped and sunlight was streaming through his windows. For Theodore Bennett, it felt like the start of something entirely new. The next morning, Camille arrived at Bennett Corporation 30 minutes early, holding Sophia's hand as they approached the impressive building that now represented their new beginning. She had spent the entire night in disbelief, checking her bank account multiple times to confirm that the advance salary had really been deposited. "Mommy, you look pretty today," Sophia said, admiring her mother's new blouse that they had purchased the evening before with part of the advance. "Thank you, baby. Are you excited to see Mr. Bennett again today?" "Yes," Sophia said, bouncing slightly as they walked. "I want to ask him if he slept better last night knowing he wasn't going to be lonely anymore." Camille stopped walking. "Sophia, honey, you can't just ask people personal questions like that." "Why not? If you care about someone, you should ask how they're feeling." Before Camille could respond, Mrs. Patterson greeted them warmly at the reception desk. "Good morning, dear. Mr. Bennett asked me to bring you both up to his office when you arrived." As they rode the elevator to the top floor, Camille tried to prepare herself for her first official day of work. She had reviewed all the materials Ben had given her the previous day, but she still felt nervous about meeting expectations. Theodore's office door was open, and he was sitting at his desk reviewing documents. He looked up when they entered, and his face immediately brightened. "Good morning, Camille." "Good morning, Sophia." "Good morning, Mr. Boss Man," Sophia said, walking directly to his desk. "Did you sleep good last night?" Theodore set down his papers and gave her his full attention. "I did, actually. I slept better than I have in months. How about you?" "I slept really good too. Mommy didn't cry or worry last night, so I didn't have to worry either." Camille felt her cheeks warm. "Sophia, Mr. Bennett doesn't need to hear about." "Actually, I do want to hear about it," Theodore said gently. "If you're comfortable sharing, that is." Sophia climbed into the chair across from his desk, making herself at home. "Mommy used to cry at night sometimes when she thought I was sleeping. But last night she was happy. She even sang songs while she made breakfast." Theodore looked at Camille with such understanding in his eyes that she felt tears threatening again. "I'm glad to hear that. Mr. Boss Man, can I ask you something really important?" Sophia said seriously. "Of course." Sophia took a deep breath, as if she were about to say something she had been thinking about all night. "Yesterday you said you get lonely and I said maybe we could be your family. Did you think about that?" Theodore leaned back in his chair, considering his words carefully. "I did think about it, Sophia. I thought about it a lot." "And what did you think?" "I thought that it was the kindest offer anyone has ever made me." Sophia's face lit up. "So does that mean you want to be our family?" Camille stepped forward quickly. "Sophia, sweetheart, Mr. Bennett is our boss now. We need to be professional and—" But Theodore raised a hand to stop her. "Camille, it's all right." He looked at Sophia with complete seriousness. "Sophia, being a family is a very big responsibility. It means taking care of each other no matter what happens. It means being there through good times and bad times. Are you sure that's what you want?" Sophia nodded emphatically. "That's exactly what I want. Mommy takes care of me no matter what, and I take care of her too. We could take care of you the same way." "What would taking care of me look like?" Theodore asked, genuinely curious. "Well, I could draw you pictures to put on your desk instead of those boring awards. And I could tell you jokes when you look sad. And maybe Mommy could make you sandwiches sometimes because she makes really good sandwiches. And we could all watch movies together and play games and just be happy together." Theodore felt his heart constrict. The simple life this child was describing sounded better than anything his billions had ever bought him. "And what would you want me to do for your family?" he asked. Sophia thought about this seriously. "You could help Mommy not worry about money anymore. And you could teach me about business stuff because I want to be smart like you when I grow up. And you could be my daddy. The last words hung in the air like a challenge. Camille looked mortified, but Theodore was staring at Sophia with an expression she couldn't quite read. You want me to be your daddy? He asked softly. Yes, Sophia said without hesitation. I've never had a daddy before, but I think you would be a really good one. You're nice and you listen when people talk and you make mommy smile. Plus you have a good heart. I can tell. How can you tell I have a good heart? Because yesterday when I told you about the scary people next to our old apartment, you got the same look mommy gets when someone is mean to me. Like you wanted to protect us even though you just met us. Theodore was quiet for a long moment, processing everything this remarkable little girl had just said. Finally, he stood up and walked around his desk to kneel in front of her chair. Sophia, if I were to become your daddy, it would be the greatest honor of my life. Sophia threw her arms around his neck, hugging him tightly. Really? You really want to be my daddy? More than anything, Theodore said, his voice thick with emotion. Camille watched this scene unfold with tears streaming down her face. In less than 24 hours, her entire world had been turned upside down by this man's kindness and her daughter's fearless heart. But, Theodore continued, gently extricating himself from Sophia's hug so he could look at both of them, there are proper ways to build a family. Your mommy and I would need to get to know each other better first. Like dating? Sophia asked with the matter-of-fact tone of a child who had clearly overheard adult conversations. Theodore chuckled. Yes, like dating. Sophia turned to her mother. Mommy, do you want to date Mr. Boss Man? Camille felt like the entire world was watching her. Sophia, that's not how these things work. You can't just. Why not? Sophia interrupted. You always tell me that if I want something good to happen, I should ask for it. Well, I want a daddy and I want you to be happy and I want Mr. Boss Man not to be lonely anymore. So I'm asking for it. Theodore stood up and walked over to Camille. She has a point. Life is too short to waste time on complicated protocols when something feels right. But this is crazy, Camille protested weakly. We barely know each other. We know the important things, Theodore said. I know you're devoted to your daughter. You know I'm not going to hurt either of you. Everything else we can figure out together. Sophia was practically bouncing in her chair. So are you going to date? Please say yes. Please, please, please. Camille looked at Theodore, seeing nothing but sincerity in his eyes. Are you sure about this? Really sure? Because once Sophia gets her hopes up, there's no going back. I've never been more sure of anything in my life, Theodore said. The question is, are you willing to take a chance on us? What happens when a child's innocent wish brings together two lonely hearts? Could a 5-year-old's bold question really create the perfect family? Make sure to subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments about whether Camille should take this incredible leap of faith. Camille looked at her daughter's hopeful face, then at Theodore's gentle expression, and realized that some opportunities only come once in a lifetime. Yes, she said quietly. I'm willing to take that chance. Sophia let out a whoop of joy and ran to hug both of them. We're going to be the best family ever. Theodore wrapped his arms around both of them, and for the first time in his adult life, he felt like he was exactly where he belonged. The powerful CEO who had everything money could buy had just received the greatest gift of all. The chance to love and be loved by a real family. As they stood there in that embrace, none of them could have imagined how perfect their life together was about to become. Later that same morning, after Sophia had settled into the small office space Theodore had arranged for her next to Camille's desk, complete with art supplies and educational toys, Theodore asked to speak with Camille privately. I want to make sure you have everything you need to succeed here, he said as they walked back into his office. But more than that, I want to make sure you and Sophia are comfortable and safe. Mr. Bennett, Theodore, what you've already done is more than enough. The salary, the advance, the office space for Sophia, it's overwhelming. Theodore sat on the edge of his desk rather than behind it, making the conversation feel more personal and less formal. Camille, can I ask you something personal? She nodded, though she looked nervous. When was the last time someone took care of you? Really took care of you, without you having to ask or work for it or worry about what you owed in return? The question caught her off guard and she was quiet for a long moment. I don't remember. Maybe when my mother was alive, but that was years ago. What happened to your parents? My mom died when Sophia was 2. Cancer. My dad left when I was 16 and pregnant. Said he couldn't handle having a daughter who made such poor choices. The pain in her voice was evident, but she continued. Sophia's father took off the minute I told him I was pregnant. So it's just been us. Theodore felt anger rise in his chest at the thought of anyone abandoning Camille and Sophia. Their loss is my gain then. What do you mean? I mean I get to be the one who shows you what it feels like to be cherished. Both of you. Before Camille could respond, Sophia appeared in the doorway. Mr. Theodore, I finished the picture I was drawing for your desk. Let me see it, Theodore said, his whole demeanor brightening at the sight of the little girl. Sophia presented him with a colorful drawing of 3 stick figures holding hands in front of a big building. That's me, that's mommy, and that's you. And that's your work building. I made us all the same size because families are equal. Theodore studied the drawing with the seriousness of someone examining a priceless work of art. This is the most beautiful picture I've ever seen. Can I frame it and put it right here on my desk? Really? You want to put my picture on your important desk? Sophia, this picture is more important to me than any business document I've ever signed. While Sophia beamed with pride, Theodore turned to Camille. I have a proposition for both of you. What kind of proposition? Camille asked cautiously. I want to take you shopping. For everything you need. Clothes, furniture for your new apartment, whatever Sophia needs for school, everything. Theodore, we can't let you buy us everything. It's too much. Why is it too much? Camille struggled to find the words. Because people don't just do things like that. There has to be a catch or an expectation or something. Sophia had been listening to the conversation, and she walked over to stand beside Theodore. Mommy, maybe some people are just nice. Maybe Mr. Theodore is like the good fairy in the stories you read me. Good fairy? Theodore asked, amused. In fairy tales, good fairies help people who are kind and good. They give them what they need to be happy, Sophia explained seriously. Maybe you're our good fairy. Theodore knelt down to her level. I like that idea, Sophia. But you know what? Good fairies help people because it makes them happy too. Helping you and your mommy makes me happier than I've been in a very long time. See, mommy? Makes him happy. So we should let him help us. Camille looked between her daughter and Theodore, seeing the genuine joy in his eyes. All right. But I want to contribute something too. I'm a good cook and I could make dinner for you sometimes. If you'd like that. I would love that more than you know, Theodore said. When was the last time I had a home-cooked meal? I can't even remember. Then it's settled, Sophia announced. We're going shopping and then mommy will make dinner and we'll be a real family. 2 hours later, they were at the most expensive department store in the city. Theodore had insisted they take his private car, and Sophia had spent the entire ride with her face pressed to the window, marveling at the luxury vehicle. I've never been in a store this fancy, Camille whispered as they walked through the pristine aisles. Then we're going to make it a memorable experience, Theodore said. He signaled to a personal shopper who immediately approached them. Mr. Bennett, how can we help you today? This is Camille and Sophia Washington. They need complete wardrobes. Professional clothing for Camille, and everything a 5-year-old could possibly need. Money is no object. The personal shopper, a well-dressed woman named Linda, smiled warmly. It would be my pleasure. For the next 3 hours, Camille and Sophia were treated like royalty. Linda helped Camille select beautiful professional outfits, casual clothes, and even a few elegant dresses. Meanwhile, Theodore sat patiently in the waiting area, occasionally giving his approval when Sophia came out to show him a new outfit. Mr. Theodore, look at this dress, Sophia said, twirling in a purple dress with sparkles. Do I look like a princess? You look like the most beautiful princess in the whole kingdom, Theodore said, and he meant every word. When Camille emerged wearing a sophisticated navy blue suit, Theodore's breath caught. She looked stunning, but more than that, she looked confident for the first time since he'd met her. How do I look? She asked nervously. You look like the successful, beautiful woman you've always been inside, Theodore said. Now the outside matches. After they finished at the clothing store, Theodore took them to a furniture store to select items for their new apartment. Sophia ran from room display to room display, pointing out everything she liked. Can we really get all of this? She asked, looking at a complete bedroom set designed for a little girl, complete with a canopy bed and matching dresser. We can get whatever makes you happy, Theodore assured her. As the day continued, Camille began to relax and actually enjoy the experience. She watched Theodore with Sophia, noting how patient he was with her questions and how he seemed to genuinely delight in her excitement about everything they saw. Why are you being so generous with us? Camille asked during a quiet moment while Sophia was distracted by a toy display. Because for the first time in my adult life, I feel like I have a purpose beyond making money. Taking care of you and Sophia feels like the most important work I've ever done. But you barely know us. I know enough. I know that Sophia has the biggest heart of any person I've ever met. I know that you've raised her to be kind and thoughtful despite having every reason to be bitter about life. I know that being around both of you makes me want to be a better man. That evening, in their new apartment that Theodore had arranged to be fully furnished and stocked with groceries, Camille cooked dinner while Sophia showed Theodore how to play her favorite card game. This is called Go Fish, Sophia explained patiently. You have to ask for cards, and if the person doesn't have them, they say, "Go fish," and you have to pick a card from the pile. This seems complicated, Theodore said with mock seriousness. It's not complicated. You're just not used to playing games. But don't worry, I'll teach you. As Camille watched them together from the kitchen, she felt something she hadn't experienced in years: peace. For the first time since Sophia was born, she wasn't worried about money or the future. She wasn't wondering how she would handle the next crisis alone. "Dinner's ready," she called. They sat around the small dining table, and Theodore took his first bite of Camille's homemade lasagna. His eyes closed in appreciation. "This is incredible. This is better than anything I've ever eaten at a 5-star restaurant." "Really?" Camille asked, pleased by his reaction. "Really? There's something about food made with love that can't be replicated by professional chefs." Sophia, who had been unusually quiet during dinner, suddenly looked up at Theodore with a serious expression. "Mr. Theodore, are you going to stay with us forever?" Theodore set down his fork and looked at her carefully. "Would you like me to?" "Yes. I want us to be a real family forever and ever." "Then I will stay with you forever and ever," Theodore promised. "Nothing could make me leave you and your mommy." Sophia smiled the biggest smile Camille had ever seen. "Good. Because I love you, Mr. Theodore." "I love you too, Sophia. And I love your mommy." Camille felt tears spring to her eyes as Theodore looked at her with such tenderness that she could hardly breathe. "I love you both too," she whispered. As they finished dinner and cleaned up together, all three of them knew that this was just the beginning of something beautiful. Theodore had found the family he never knew he needed, and Camille and Sophia had found the security and love they had always deserved. Outside the window of their new apartment, the city lights twinkled like stars, but inside their home, the warmth of their new family shone even brighter. 3 weeks into their new life together, a routine had developed that felt as natural as if they had been a family for years. Theodore would arrive at the office early each morning to find Sophia already set up in her little workspace, drawing pictures or working on the educational activities he had provided for her. "Good morning, Princess," Theodore said as he walked into the office, using the nickname that had developed naturally between them. "Good morning, Daddy Theodore," Sophia replied without looking up from her coloring book. The first time she had called him that, Theodore had nearly cried. Now, hearing it filled him with a warmth that no business success had ever provided. "What are you working on today?" "I'm making a book about our family. See, this page is about when we first met, and this page is about when we went shopping, and this page is about when you taught me how to play chess." Theodore examined the colorful drawings with the attention he once reserved for quarterly reports. "This is wonderful, Sophia. You're quite the artist." Camille emerged from the small kitchen area with 2 cups of coffee, handing one to Theodore. This morning routine of sharing coffee while Sophia worked on her projects had become one of his favorite parts of the day. "How did you sleep?" Camille asked, a question that had become part of their daily ritual. "Better than ever," Theodore replied, which was always true. "How about you?" "Wonderfully. Sophia only woke up once, and that was just to make sure you were still planning to come to her school presentation tomorrow." Theodore smiled. Sophia's kindergarten class was doing presentations about their families, and she had insisted that Theodore come as her daddy. The school had been somewhat surprised to learn that the Theodore Bennett would be attending a kindergarten presentation, but they had accommodated the request with enthusiasm. "I wouldn't miss it for anything," Theodore said. "I've already cleared my entire afternoon." "You didn't have to do that. I know how busy you are." "Camille, nothing is more important than being there for Sophia. My business has run itself for years. Family time is much more valuable." As if summoned by their conversation, Sophia looked up from her book. "Daddy Theodore, will you help me practice my presentation one more time?" "Of course, Princess." Sophia stood up and cleared her throat dramatically. "My name is Sophia Washington, and I want to tell you about my family. I have the best mommy in the whole world. Her name is Camille, and she works really hard to take care of me. She makes the best sandwiches and gives the best hugs." Theodore and Camille exchanged amused glances as Sophia continued. "And I have the best daddy in the whole world too. His name is Theodore, but I call him Daddy Theodore." He's really smart about business, but he's even smarter about being a daddy. He teaches me things and plays games with me and makes mommy smile all the time. That's perfect, sweetheart, Camille said. Wait, I'm not done yet, Sophia said importantly. The best part about my family is that we chose each other. Some families are born together, but we picked each other because we wanted to love each other. That makes us extra special. Theodore felt that familiar tightening in his chest that happened whenever Sophia said something particularly wise. You're absolutely right, princess. We are extra special. Later that morning, while Sophia was occupied with her educational tablets, Theodore asked Camille to join him for their weekly planning meeting. These sessions had ostensibly started as work-related discussions, but they had evolved into something much more personal. How are you settling into everything? Theodore asked as they sat in the comfortable chairs by his office window. It still feels like a dream sometimes, Camille admitted. 3 weeks ago I was worried about making rent. Now I'm working in a job I love, living in a beautiful apartment, and watching my daughter flourish in ways I never thought possible. And how are you feeling about us? About our relationship? Camille smiled softly. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. For this to be too good to be true. What would convince you that it's real? Time, I suppose. And continued proof that you're as genuine as you seem to be. Theodore reached across the space between their chairs and took her hand. I understand your caution. You've been hurt before. But I want you to know that every day I wake up grateful that you and Sophia are in my life. Even when Sophia spilled juice all over your important contracts last week? Theodore laughed. Especially then. Do you know what I thought when that happened? That you'd made a terrible mistake? No. I thought that it was the first time those contracts had ever been involved in something that mattered. They were just papers about money. But Sophia's juice spill turned them into a memory of her being excited to show me her new drawing. Camille felt her heart skip. You really mean that? I've never meant anything more. Camille, I spent the first 34 years of my life thinking that success was measured in dollars and deals. But these past few weeks have shown me what real success looks like. It looks like Sophia running to hug me when I walk in the room. It looks like you trusting me enough to let me be part of your lives. It looks like the three of us having dinner together and talking about our day. Theodore. I know it's soon, but I need you to know how I feel. I love you, Camille. I love you and I love Sophia, and I want us to be a real family in every sense of the word. Tears filled Camille's eyes. I love you too. We both do. Then why do you still seem scared? Camille was quiet for a moment, gathering her thoughts. Because Sophia has never had a father figure before. If this doesn't work out, if you change your mind, it won't just break my heart. It will break hers too, and I don't know if I could fix that kind of hurt for her. Theodore stood up and pulled Camille to her feet, taking both of her hands in his. Look at me, Camille. Really look at me. She met his eyes, seeing nothing but sincerity and love. I'm not going anywhere. Ever. I don't care what challenges we face or what problems come up. I am committed to you and to Sophia for the rest of my life. Do you believe me? I want to. Then let me prove it to you. Every single day for as long as it takes. That afternoon, Theodore surprised them both by leaving work early to pick up Sophia from the daycare center at Bennett Corporation. He had arranged for the company to provide childcare services, and Sophia had made friends with several other children whose parents worked in the building. Daddy Theodore. Sophia called out when she saw him, running across the playground to throw herself into his arms. Hello, princess. Are you ready to go home? Yes. I want to show mommy the picture I painted today. It's a picture of our house with all of us in it. As they drove home, Sophia chattered about her day, telling Theodore about the game she had played and the stories the teacher had read. Theodore listened to every word as if she were briefing him on the most important business deal of his life. Daddy Theodore, can I ask you something? Sophia said as they stopped at a red light. Always. Are you going to marry mommy? Theodore glanced at Sophia in the rearview mirror, seeing her serious expression. Would you like me to marry your mommy? Yes. Because then you would be my real daddy, not just my pretend daddy. Sophia, I already am your real daddy. Love is what makes someone a real daddy, not a piece of paper. But the paper would make it official, right? Like how people get certificates when they do good jobs. Theodore chuckled at her logic. Yes, it would make it official. Then I think you should ask her. I think she wants you to ask her, but she's too shy to say so. That evening, as Camille prepared dinner and Sophia played with her new toys, Theodore found himself thinking about marriage in a way he never had before. He had always viewed marriage as a business arrangement, a practical joining of assets and social connections. But now he understood it differently. Marriage would be a promise, a commitment, a declaration to the world that he chose Camille and Sophia as his family. After dinner, while Sophia was getting ready for bed, Theodore helped Camille clean the kitchen. Camille, can I ask you something? Of course. How do you feel about marriage? Camille nearly dropped the plate she was washing. Marriage in general, or marriage to me? She turned to face him, her eyes wide. Are you asking me to marry you? I'm asking how you would feel if I asked you to marry me. Camille smiled, understanding the distinction. I would feel terrified and excited and hopeful all at the same time. Why terrified? Because it would mean trusting someone completely with not just my heart, but with Sophia's future. Because it would mean believing that fairy tale endings can happen to people like me. And why excited? Because I love you more than I ever thought I could love anyone. Because I want to wake up next to you every morning for the rest of my life. Because I want to make it official that we're a family. Theodore moved closer to her, gently taking the dish towel from her hands. And why hopeful? Because for the first time in my life, I can imagine a future that's even better than my dreams. Before Theodore could respond, Sophia appeared in the doorway in her pajamas. Are you guys talking about getting married? Because if you are, I think it's a really good idea. Camille and Theodore burst into laughter, realizing that their family discussions would never be private as long as they had such a curious and outspoken little girl. Come here, princess, Theodore said, holding out his arms. Sophia ran to him and he scooped her up. What do you think about the three of us being an official family? I think it's the best idea anyone has ever had, Sophia said seriously. When can we do it? Theodore looked at Camille over Sophia's head. Whenever your mommy is ready. Camille felt her heart overflow with love for both of them. I'm ready whenever you are. Really? Sophia asked, bouncing in Theodore's arms. Really? Camille confirmed. Then we're going to be the happiest family in the whole world, Sophia announced with complete confidence. As Theodore held Sophia and reached for Camille's hand, he realized that she was absolutely right. They were going to be the happiest family in the whole world. The next morning brought the day of Sophia's school presentation, and she was more excited than Theodore had ever seen her. She had woken up at sunrise, had breakfast ready by the time he arrived at their apartment, and had changed outfits 3 times before deciding on her favorite purple dress. Are you nervous about your presentation, princess? Theodore asked as he braided her hair, a skill he had surprisingly picked up quickly. No, I'm excited. I get to tell everyone about you and mommy. Mrs. Johnson says some of the other kids don't believe that my daddy is a real CEO. Well, we'll show them, won't we? Yes. And I'm going to tell them that the best thing about having a CEO daddy is that he always has time for me. Theodore's hands stilled in her hair. Always, princess. No matter what. Camille emerged from the bedroom, dressed in one of the beautiful outfits Theodore had bought her. How do I look? I want to make a good impression on Sophia's teachers. You look perfect, Theodore said, meaning every word. They're going to love you. The elementary school was a cheerful building with colorful artwork displayed in the hallways. As they walked toward Sophia's classroom, several other parents did double takes when they recognized Theodore. He had appeared on the cover of business magazines enough times that his face was familiar to many people. Is that really Theodore Bennett? One mother whispered to another. Daddy Theodore, people are staring at you, Sophia observed. They're probably just admiring my beautiful family, Theodore replied, taking Camille's hand and giving Sophia a wink. Mrs. Johnson, Sophia's teacher, greeted them warmly at the classroom door. Mr. Bennett, Ms. Washington, I'm so pleased you could both be here today. Sophia has been talking about this presentation for weeks. The classroom was set up with small chairs arranged in a circle, with other parents already seated and waiting for the presentations to begin. Theodore folded his tall frame into one of the tiny chairs, looking slightly ridiculous but completely content. Welcome, families, Mrs. Johnson announced. Today our students will be sharing presentations about their families. Let's start with Tommy. Theodore watched politely as several children presented, but his attention was completely focused on Sophia when her turn came. She stood up confidently and walked to the front of the circle. My name is Sophia Washington, she began just as she had practiced. I want to tell you about my amazing family. She gestured toward Camille and Theodore. This is my mommy, Camille. She's the best mommy in the world because she works really hard and she always puts me first and she makes the best mac and cheese ever. Several parents smiled at this and Camille felt her cheeks warm with pride. And this is my daddy, Theodore. Some of you might know him as Mr. Bennett, because he's the CEO of a big company. But to me he's just Daddy Theodore and he's the best daddy ever. Theodore felt his throat tighten with emotion. The special thing about my family is that we chose each other, Sophia continued. My daddy wasn't always my daddy. He used to be lonely and work all the time. But then me and Mommy met him and I asked him if he wanted to be our family and he said yes. She looked directly at Theodore with a bright smile. Now he's not lonely anymore and we're all happy together. We play games and cook dinner and read stories and Daddy Theodore says I'm his princess. One of the other children raised her hand. Is he really a CEO? Yes, Sophia said proudly. But the best part isn't that he has a big office or a fancy car. The best part is that he loves me and Mommy, and he makes us feel safe and special every day. Theodore had to blink back tears as Sophia concluded her presentation and returned to sit between him and Camille. Several other parents were looking at him with new respect, clearly impressed not just by his success, but by the obvious love between him and his daughter. After all the presentations were finished and the formal part of the event concluded, several parents approached them. Mr. Bennett, I just wanted to say how lovely it was to hear Sophia talk about your family, one mother said. You can tell how much she adores you. The feeling is completely mutual, Theodore replied, ruffling Sophia's hair. Another parent, a father, pulled Theodore aside. I have to ask, how do you balance running a major corporation with being so present for your daughter? I struggle to make it to school events even with my much smaller job. Theodore considered the question seriously. I realize that my business will survive without my constant attention, but my daughter is only going to be little once. These moments are irreplaceable. The business deals will always be there, but I'll never get another chance to see her first school presentation. As they prepared to leave, Mrs. Johnson approached them. Mr. Bennett, Ms. Washington, I just wanted to tell you what a special little girl you have. Sophia is kind, confident, and secure. Whatever you're doing at home, it's working beautifully. Thank you, Camille said, feeling proud and emotional. That means so much to hear. On the drive home, Sophia was chattering excitedly about the presentation and how proud she was that both her parents had been there. Did you see how surprised everyone was when I said you were my daddy? She asked Theodore. I did. What do you think they were surprised about? I think they were surprised that someone as important as you would want to be my daddy. But I told them that I'm important too, so it makes perfect sense. Theodore laughed, delighted by her logic. You're absolutely right, princess. You are the most important person in my world. That evening, after Sophia had gone to bed, Theodore and Camille sat together on the couch in their living room. Theodore had been unusually quiet since they returned from the school. What are you thinking about? Camille asked, curling up next to him. I'm thinking about how proud I was today watching Sophia present our family to her classmates. I'm thinking about how natural it felt to be introduced as her daddy. I'm thinking about how much I want to make this official. Camille's heart began to race. What do you mean? Theodore shifted so he was facing her directly. I mean, I want to marry you, Camille. I want to adopt Sophia legally. I want us to be a real family in every possible way. Theodore. I know we haven't been together very long by conventional standards, but I've never been more certain of anything in my life. I love you both completely. I want to wake up with you every morning and go to sleep next to you every night. I want to help Sophia with her homework and teach her about the world and be there for every important moment in her life. Camille felt tears streaming down her face. Are you proposing to me? Not yet, Theodore said with a smile. When I propose, it's going to be special. Sophia has some very specific ideas about how it should happen, and I want to make sure we do it right. Sophia has ideas about your proposal? Our proposal, Theodore corrected. She's made it very clear that this is a family decision, and she intends to be involved in every step. Camille laughed through her tears. Of course she does. Is that a yes? To the general concept of marriage and adoption and making this official. Camille took his face in her hands, looking into his eyes and seeing nothing but love and commitment. Yes, Theodore. Yes to all of it. Yes to forever. Theodore kissed her then, pouring all of his love and gratitude and hope for their future into that moment. When they broke apart, they were both crying. I love you so much, Camille whispered. I love you too. Both of you. More than I ever thought it was possible to love anyone. As they held each other on the couch, both of them knew that their lives had been forever changed by a little girl's innocent question and a lonely man's open heart. Tomorrow would bring new adventures, but tonight, they were simply a family in love, planning for a future filled with all the happiness they had never dared to dream possible. In her bedroom down the hall, Sophia smiled in her sleep, somehow knowing that all her wishes were about to come true. 2 months later, their happiness faced its first real test. Theodore was in his office reviewing quarterly reports when Ben Carter knocked on his door with an unusually serious expression. "Sir, there's something you need to see," Ben said, placing several newspapers and printed articles on Theodore's desk. The headlines were harsh and invasive: "Billionaire's Gold Digger, Theodore Bennett's Mysterious New Family, and From Poverty to Penthouse. The Cinderella Story That Has Everyone Talking, and Is Theodore Bennett Being Taken for a Ride?" Theodore's jaw tightened as he read the articles, which speculated about Camille's motives and suggested that she was using Sophia to manipulate him into providing for them. "How did they get all this information about Camille's background?" Theodore asked, his voice dangerously quiet. "It appears someone did some digging. They found records of her previous jobs, her financial struggles, even details about Sophia's father abandoning them." Theodore stood up abruptly, anger radiating from every line of his body. "I want to know who provided this information, and I want them stopped. Sir, I've already contacted our legal team. We're pursuing every option to limit the damage." "The damage isn't to me, Ben. It's to Camille and Sophia. They don't deserve to have their private lives splashed across the media." At that moment, Camille appeared in the doorway, her face pale and her hands shaking as she held one of the newspapers. "Theodore, people are already talking about these articles. The receptionist downstairs looked at me like I was some kind of criminal." Theodore immediately went to her, pulling her into his arms. "Camille, none of this matters. These people don't know us or our story." "But what if they're right?" Camille asked, her voice breaking. "What if I am just some woman who trapped you with her child? What if—" "Stop," Theodore said firmly, pulling back to look at her face. "Don't you dare let these strangers make you doubt what we have." Sophia appeared in the doorway, having heard the raised voices. "Why does Mommy look sad? What happened?" Theodore knelt down to her level. "Some people wrote some mean things about our family in the newspaper, Princess. But they don't know us, so their words don't matter." "What kind of mean things?" Sophia asked, her young face serious. Camille started to speak, but Theodore gently stopped her. "They said that maybe Mommy doesn't really love me, and that maybe she's just pretending so I'll buy her things." Sophia's eyes widened with indignation. "That's not true. Mommy loved you before you bought us anything. She loved you when you were just the nice man who gave her a job. I know that, Princess. And everyone who matters knows that too." But over the next few days the situation got worse before it got better. Photographers followed them to restaurants and to Sophia's school. Reporters called the office constantly, trying to get statements from both Theodore and Camille. Some of Theodore's business associates made snide comments about his sudden family man phase. The stress was taking its toll on all of them, but especially on Sophia, who couldn't understand why strangers were taking pictures of her and asking her questions about her family. "Daddy Theodore, why are those people following us?" Sophia asked as they hurried into their apartment building, having just run a gauntlet of photographers outside. "Because some people are very interested in our family," Theodore explained, trying to keep his voice calm. "But why? We're not doing anything special. We're just being a family. Sometimes being happy makes other people curious, Princess." That evening, after Sophia was asleep, Camille sat on the edge of their bed with her head in her hands. "Maybe we should take a break," she said quietly. "Until this all dies down." Theodore sat beside her, his heart breaking at the defeated tone in her voice. "Is that what you want?" "No, but maybe it's what's best for everyone. I never wanted to bring this kind of attention to your business or to Sophia's life." "Camille, look at me." She raised her head, and he could see the exhaustion and stress in her eyes. "Do you remember what you told me about Sophia's father? About how he left the minute things got difficult?" She nodded, not understanding where he was going with this. "I'm not him. I'm never going to leave you because things get challenging. This media attention, these articles, these people who don't know us making judgments about our relationship. None of it changes how I feel about you and Sophia. But your business, my business will be fine. Do you want to know what my investors care about? Profits and growth. Both of which have increased since you and Sophia came into my life, because I'm happier and more focused than I've ever been." Theodore took her hands in his. "And do you want to know what my employees think? They think it's wonderful that their boss has found love and happiness. They see me leaving the office on time to have dinner with my family, and it gives them permission to prioritize their own families too." "Really? Really?" "Ben told me that 3 of my executives have started leaving work earlier to spend time with their children, inspired by my example. I'm apparently creating a better work-life balance culture just by being in love with you." Camille felt some of the tension leave her shoulders. "I just hate that people are saying those things about me. About us. I know, and I'm sorry you have to deal with it. But we can't let other people's opinions determine our happiness. The next day, Theodore surprised everyone by calling a press conference. Against the advice of his legal team and public relations department, he decided to address the situation head-on. Ladies and gentlemen, Theodore began, standing at a podium in Bennett Corporation's main conference room, I've called you here today to address the recent speculation about my personal life. The room was packed with reporters, cameras, and journalists, all eager to hear what the usually private billionaire would say. 6 months ago, I was a successful businessman who had everything money could buy, but I was also profoundly lonely. I had built an empire, but I had never built a family. Then I met Camille Washington and her daughter Sophia, and they changed my life completely. Theodore's voice was calm and confident as he continued. Some of you have suggested that Ms. Washington is interested in me for financial reasons. Let me be very clear. Camille Washington is the most genuine, loving, and selfless person I have ever known. She spent years working multiple jobs to provide for her daughter, never asking anyone for help, never taking the easy way out. He paused, looking directly into the cameras. When I met them, Camille was interviewing for an administrative assistant position. She could have easily leveraged my interest in her family for financial gain. Instead, she consistently tried to refuse my help, insisted on contributing to our relationship, and has shown me every day that she loves me for who I am, not what I own. A reporter raised her hand. Mr. Bennett, critics say the relationship moved very quickly. How do you respond to concerns that you're being manipulated by someone who saw an opportunity? Theodore smiled. The relationship moved quickly because when you find your family, you don't waste time on arbitrary timelines. As for manipulation, my 5-year-old daughter Sophia asked me to be her daddy during our first meeting. If that was manipulation, it was the most innocent and heartfelt manipulation in history. Another reporter called out, what about the age difference? What about the difference in your social and economic backgrounds? Love doesn't care about age or bank accounts, Theodore replied simply. What matters is that we make each other better people. Camille and Sophia have taught me what real success looks like. It's not about how much money you make or how many deals you close. It's about having people who love you for who you are, who celebrate your victories and support you through your challenges. The questions continued for another 20 minutes, but Theodore answered each one with patience and honesty, never defensive, always focused on the love he felt for his family. When the press conference ended, Theodore returned to his office to find Camille waiting for him, tears streaming down her face. You didn't have to do that, she said. Yes, I did. I needed the whole world to know that you and Sophia are the best thing that ever happened to me. Sophia, who had been staying with Mrs. Patterson during the press conference, ran into the office and threw herself into Theodore's arms. Daddy Theodore, Mrs. Patterson showed me the press conference on her computer. You told everyone that you love us. I did, Princess. And I meant every word. Good, because I love you too, and I don't care what mean people say about our family. That evening they ordered pizza and ate it on the floor of their living room, watching movies and playing games. The outside world and its judgments felt very far away. Thank you, Camille said as they cleaned up after dinner. For what? For fighting for us. For not letting other people's opinions change how you feel. For showing Sophia what it looks like when someone commits to a family completely. Theodore pulled her into his arms, holding her close. Camille, this family is the most important thing in my life. I will always fight for us, no matter what challenges come our way. As they stood there holding each other, with Sophia building a fort out of couch cushions nearby, all three of them knew that their love had been tested and had emerged even stronger. The outside world could say whatever it wanted, but nothing could shake the foundation they had built together. 1 month later, the media attention had died down considerably, and life had returned to a peaceful routine. Theodore had been planning something special for weeks, with Sophia as his enthusiastic co-conspirator. Are you sure you remember your part, Princess? Theodore asked as they sat in his office on a Friday afternoon. Yes, Daddy Theodore. I give Mommy the special envelope and then I bring her to the park where you're waiting. Then you ask her the important question and she says yes because she loves you. And what if she says no? Sophia looked at him as if he had said something completely ridiculous. She's not going to say no. She loves you more than chocolate cake, and that's saying a lot. Theodore laughed, feeling some of his nervousness ease. All right, let's do this. Camille was finishing up some reports when Sophia skipped into her office area with a mysterious smile. Mommy, I have something for you, Sophia announced, presenting an elegant envelope with Camille's name written in Theodore's handwriting. What's this, sweetheart? It's a surprise. You have to read it. Camille opened the envelope and found a beautiful card with a simple message. Camille, you and Sophia gave me a family when I didn't even know I needed one. Today, I want to ask you both a very important question. Please come to Riverside Park at sunset. Love, Theodore. Sophia, do you know what this is about? Camille asked, though she suspected she already knew. Maybe, Sophia said with a giggle. But it's a good surprise, I promise. An hour later, Sophia led Camille through Riverside Park to a small gazebo that had been decorated with thousands of white lights and flowers. Theodore stood in the center, wearing his best suit and holding a small velvet box. Oh my goodness, Camille breathed, seeing the romantic scene he had created. Surprise! Sophia shouted, clapping her hands together. Theodore walked toward them, his eyes never leaving Camille's face. Thank you for coming. Theodore, this is beautiful, but you didn't need to do all this. Yes, I did, he said softly. Because you deserve beautiful things, and this moment deserves to be as special as you are. He knelt down on one knee and Camille felt tears spring to her eyes. But instead of looking at her, Theodore looked at Sophia first. Sophia Washington, 6 months ago you asked me to be your daddy, and it was the best question anyone has ever asked me. Being your father has been the greatest joy of my life. Will you let me be your daddy forever? Sophia threw her arms around his neck. Yes, yes, yes. Forever and ever. Theodore hugged her tightly, then gently set her aside and turned to Camille, still on one knee. Camille Washington, you gave me something I didn't even know I was missing. You gave me love, laughter, purpose, and a family. You taught me that success isn't measured in dollars, but in the people who love you and the difference you make in their lives. Camille was crying now, barely able to see through her tears as Theodore opened the small box to reveal a stunning diamond ring. I promise to love you and cherish you and Sophia for the rest of my life. I promise to be the husband you deserve and the father Sophia deserves. I promise to put our family first always. Camille, will you marry me? Yes, Camille whispered, then louder, yes, of course, yes. Theodore slipped the ring onto her finger, then stood up and kissed her as Sophia cheered and clapped beside them. We're really going to be a family forever? Sophia asked when they broke apart. Forever and ever, princess, Theodore confirmed, scooping her up in his arms. This is the best day of my whole life, Sophia announced. Can we call everyone and tell them? Who do you want to call? Camille asked, laughing through her tears. Mrs. Patterson and Ben and my teacher and the nice lady at the grocery store and everyone in the whole world. They spent the evening celebrating at their favorite restaurant, with Sophia proudly showing off her mother's ring to anyone who would listen. The other diners smiled indulgently as the little girl announced to the entire restaurant that her daddy had just proposed to her mommy. When are we going to have the wedding? Sophia asked as they shared dessert. When would you like to have it? Theodore asked. Tomorrow. Sophia said immediately. We need a little more time than that to plan a proper wedding, Camille said with a laugh. How about in 3 months? Theodore suggested. That will give us time to plan something beautiful, but not so long that we have to wait forever to make it official. 3 months sounds perfect, Camille agreed. That night, after Sophia had finally fallen asleep from exhaustion and excitement, Camille and Theodore sat together on their couch, admiring her engagement ring. I still can't believe this is my life, Camille said softly. What do you mean? A year ago, I was a single mother struggling to make ends meet. I never imagined I could have this kind of happiness. You deserve every bit of happiness in the world, Theodore said, pulling her closer. Both of you do. Do you ever regret it? The way our relationship has changed your life so completely? Theodore considered the question seriously. The only thing I regret is all the years I spent thinking that money and business success were enough. I regret not understanding sooner what really matters in life. And what really matters? Love. Family. Coming home to people who are genuinely excited to see you. Having someone to share your day with. Watching Sophia learn and grow and become more amazing every day. Those are the things that matter. Camille snuggled closer to him. I love you so much, Theodore. I love you too, future Mrs. Bennet. Mrs. Bennet, Camille repeated, testing how it sounded. I like the sound of that. And what about Sophia Bennet? She's going to be over the moon. She's been practicing writing Sophia Bennet in her notebooks for weeks, just in case. They sat together in comfortable silence, both thinking about the wedding and the future they were planning together. Outside, the city sparkled with lights, but inside their home, the warmth of their love shone even brighter. In 3 months they would be husband and wife. Theodore would officially become Sophia's father. And their fairy tale family would be complete in every legal and ceremonial way. But as they held each other that night, both of them knew that the important parts were already complete. They had found each other, chosen each other, and committed to each other. The wedding would be a celebration of what they had already built. A family bound together by love, laughter, and the innocent wisdom of a little girl who had known exactly what they all needed. The next 3 months flew by in a whirlwind of wedding planning, legal preparations for Sophia's adoption, and the pure joy of being an engaged family. Theodore had insisted on hiring the best wedding planner in the city, but Sophia had very definite opinions about every aspect of the ceremony. "I think we should have purple flowers everywhere," Sophia announced during their first meeting with Elena Rodriguez, their wedding coordinator. "Purple is Mommy's favorite color, and it's my favorite color too." "Purple flowers would be beautiful," Elena agreed, making notes on her tablet. "What kind of purple flowers were you thinking?" "All of them," Sophia said seriously. "We want all the purple flowers in the whole world." Theodore and Camille exchanged amused glances as Elena tactfully suggested they might focus on a few specific varieties. "And I want to walk down the aisle first to make sure everything is perfect for Mommy," Sophia continued. "But not like a regular flower girl. I want to be the family announcer." "The family announcer?" Elena asked, looking confused. "I want to tell everyone that Mommy and Daddy Theodore are coming, and that they're going to be married forever and ever, and that we're all going to be happy." "That's not a traditional role," Elena said diplomatically. "Our family isn't traditional," Theodore said with a smile. "If Sophia wants to be the family announcer, then that's what she'll be." Elena nodded, clearly deciding to embrace the uniqueness of this particular wedding. "Of course. We'll make it work beautifully." Over the following weeks, the preparations continued with Sophia's enthusiastic input on every detail. She insisted on tasting every cake flavor available and declared that they needed at least 5 different kinds of cake because people have different favorites. She designed her own flower girl dress with the help of a patient seamstress who was charmed by the little girl's specific vision of a purple dress that spins really good when I twirl. Meanwhile, Theodore was handling the legal aspects of Sophia's adoption with the help of his attorney. The process was surprisingly straightforward since Sophia's biological father had never been involved in her life and had no legal rights to contest. "Everything should be finalized by the wedding day," his lawyer assured him. "You'll be able to legally call yourself her father immediately after the ceremony." "That's important to me," Theodore said. "I want our marriage and the adoption to happen at the same time. I don't want there to be any question that I'm committing to both of them equally." As the wedding approached, Theodore found himself getting increasingly nervous, not about marrying Camille, but about whether he would be a good enough husband and father to deserve the family he was gaining. "Ben, can I ask you something personal?" Theodore said to his assistant one afternoon. "Of course, sir. You've been married for 15 years and have 3 children. What's the secret to being a good husband and father?" Ben looked surprised by the question but answered thoughtfully. "Honestly, sir, I think you're already doing it. Being present, putting your family first, listening to what they need. Those are the most important things. What if I'm not good at it? What if I make mistakes?" "You will make mistakes. Every parent and husband does. But the fact that you're worried about being good enough tells me you're going to be just fine." That evening, Theodore shared his concerns with Camille as they put Sophia to bed together. "What if I don't know how to be a good father?" he asked as they tucked Sophia in. "Daddy Theodore, you're already the best father in the world," Sophia said sleepily. "You read me stories and help with my homework and make Mommy happy. That's what daddies do." After Sophia fell asleep, Theodore and Camille sat in the living room discussing his worries. "I've never done this before," Theodore admitted. "I don't know the rules for being a family man." "There aren't any rules," Camille said softly. "There's just love and patience and showing up every day. You've been doing that for months already. But what about when she's older? What about when she needs advice about boys or college or career decisions? What if she asks me questions I don't know how to answer?" Camille took his hands in hers. "Then we'll figure it out together. That's what parents do. We make it up as we go along and hope we don't mess up too badly." "You make it sound so simple." "It is simple, Theodore. Love isn't complicated. Being there for each other isn't complicated. Everything else is just details." 2 weeks before the wedding, they had their final dress rehearsal at the beautiful garden venue they had chosen. Sophia took her role as family announcer very seriously, practicing her speech multiple times. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announced to the empty chairs, "today we are here to watch my mommy and daddy get married. They love each other very much and they love me very much, and after today we will be a real family forever. Elena watched with tears in her eyes as the little girl continued her speech. "This is the most beautiful wedding I've ever planned," she told Theodore quietly. "It's not even the wedding that makes it beautiful," Theodore replied. "It's the family we're celebrating." The night before the wedding, Theodore stayed at a hotel to maintain the tradition of not seeing the bride on the wedding day. But Sophia had insisted on calling him before bedtime. "Daddy Theodore, are you excited for tomorrow?" she asked over the phone. "More excited than I've ever been about anything, princess." "Good. Because tomorrow you're going to be my real daddy, not just my pretend daddy. You know I've been your real daddy all along, right? Love is what makes someone a real parent, not a piece of paper." "I know, but tomorrow it will be official. Like how you have certificates for your business achievements, except this one will be for family achievements." Theodore laughed, charmed by her logic. "That's exactly right. Tomorrow will be the most important certificate I've ever received. Sleep good, Daddy Theodore. Tomorrow is going to be the best day ever." As Theodore hung up the phone and prepared for bed, he realized that his nervousness had completely disappeared. Sophia was right. Tomorrow was going to be the best day ever, not because of the ceremony or the celebration, but because it would mark the official beginning of the life he had always wanted but never thought he could have. He fell asleep thinking about walking down the aisle to marry the love of his life, officially becoming a father to the most amazing little girl in the world, and starting the next chapter of their beautiful story together. The morning of the wedding dawned bright and clear, with the kind of perfect weather that seemed to bless the most important days of people's lives. Theodore woke up in his hotel room feeling calmer and happier than he could ever remember being. He arrived at the venue early to find the staff putting the finishing touches on the decorations. Purple flowers were everywhere, just as Sophia had requested, creating a magical garden setting that looked like something from a fairy tale. "Good morning, Mr. Bennett," Elena greeted him. "Everything is proceeding perfectly. Your bride and daughter are in the bridal suite, and all the guests are beginning to arrive." Theodore had kept the guest list relatively small, inviting only their closest friends and his essential business associates. He had also insisted on inviting Mrs. Patterson, Ben Carter, and several other Bennett Corporation employees who had become like extended family to them. In the bridal suite, Camille was putting the finishing touches on her makeup while Sophia spun around in her purple dress, admiring how it flowed when she moved. "Mommy, you look like a real princess," Sophia announced, studying her mother in the beautiful white gown they had chosen together. "Thank you, sweetheart. You look like a princess too." "I'm not a princess today. Today I'm the family announcer. That's an even more important job than being a princess." Rachel Torres, Theodore's HR director, knocked on the door. "Ladies, it's almost time. Are you ready?" Sophia straightened her small shoulders and picked up her basket of purple flower petals. "I was born ready." The guests were seated in white chairs arranged in a semicircle around a flower-covered arch. Theodore stood at the altar with the officiant, Judge Miranda Kelly, who would also handle the adoption ceremony immediately following the wedding. As the music began, Sophia walked confidently down the aisle, scattering flower petals and stopping periodically to address the guests. "Ladies and gentlemen, my mommy is about to marry my daddy, and they're going to be happy forever," she announced to one section of guests before continuing down the aisle. "Today is the best day ever because we're becoming an official family," she told another group. By the time she reached the altar, everyone in attendance was smiling and some were wiping away tears. Sophia took her place beside Theodore and whispered loudly, "Daddy Theodore, everyone looks happy. They should look happy, princess. This is a very happy day." Then the music changed and Camille appeared at the back of the aisle. Theodore's breath caught as he saw her walking toward him, more beautiful than he had ever seen her, with tears of joy streaming down her face. When she reached the altar, Theodore took her hands and whispered, "You look absolutely perfect." "So do you," she whispered back. Judge Kelly smiled at the family before beginning the ceremony. "We are gathered here today to celebrate the marriage of Theodore Bennett and Camille Washington, and to witness the legal adoption of Sophia Washington by Theodore Bennett." She looked down at Sophia, who was beaming up at her. "Sophia, do you understand what's happening today?" "Yes, ma'am. My mommy and daddy are getting married, and then I'm going to be Sophia Bennett instead of Sophia Washington, and we're all going to live happily ever after." Judge Kelly chuckled. "That's exactly right." The wedding ceremony was beautiful but brief, with Theodore and Camille exchanging heartfelt vows they had written themselves. "Camille," Theodore began, "6 months ago I thought I had everything I needed. I was successful, wealthy, and independent. But I was also lonely and empty in ways I didn't even realize. Then you and Sophia walked into my life and showed me what I had been missing. His voice grew emotional as he continued. You taught me that love isn't something you earn through achievements. It's something you give and receive freely. You showed me that family isn't about blood or obligation. It's about choosing to care for each other every single day. He looked down at Sophia, then back at Camille. I promise to love you both unconditionally. I promise to put our family first in all my decisions. I promise to be present for every important moment and every ordinary moment too. I promise to be the husband you deserve and the father Sophia deserves. Camille was crying as she began her vows. Theodore, when I met you, I was a single mother doing everything I could to provide for my daughter. I never dreamed that someone could love us both so completely and so generously. She paused to wipe away tears before continuing. You didn't just fall in love with me. You fell in love with my daughter too, and you chose to become her father not because you had to, but because you wanted to. That kind of love is rare and precious. I promise to love you and trust you and build a life with you that's worthy of the gift you've given us. I promise to support your dreams while sharing mine with you. I promise to be a partner in every sense of the word. Judge Kelly pronounced them husband and wife, and Theodore kissed Camille as their guests cheered and Sophia clapped enthusiastically. But the ceremony wasn't over. Judge Kelly immediately transitioned into the adoption proceedings. Theodore Bennett, do you swear to accept all the responsibilities and privileges of fatherhood to Sophia Washington? I do with all my heart. Sophia Washington, do you want Theodore Bennett to be your legal father? Yes, please, Sophia said clearly. I want him to be my daddy forever. Judge Kelly signed the papers with a flourish. By the power vested in me by the state, I now pronounce you a legal family. Theodore, you are now officially Sophia's father. Sophia, you are now officially Sophia Bennett. Sophia threw herself into Theodore's arms as he lifted her up and spun her around. I'm really your daughter now? You've always been my daughter, princess. Now we just have the papers to prove it. Sometimes the most beautiful families are the ones that choose each other. What started with a desperate job interview and a child's innocent question has become the perfect love story. Make sure you subscribe and let us know in the comments what you think about this heartwarming journey from strangers to family. The reception was held in the garden adjacent to the ceremony space, with tables arranged under twinkling lights and purple flowers everywhere. During dinner, several guests stood to make toasts. Ben Carter was the first to speak. I've worked for Theodore Bennett for over 10 years, and I can honestly say I've never seen him as happy as he's been these past few months. Camille and Sophia, you've given him something he didn't even know he was looking for, a real family. Mrs. Patterson stood next, dabbing at her eyes with a handkerchief. I've watched Theodore grow from a young businessman into a successful CEO, but becoming a husband and father has been his greatest achievement. And little Sophia, you are the most delightful child I've ever known. You're all perfect for each other. But the most touching moment came when Sophia asked if she could make a speech too. Standing on a chair so everyone could see her, Sophia spoke with the confidence of someone much older. Thank you for coming to our wedding. I want to tell you about my family. She gestured toward Theodore and Camille, who were sitting at the head table watching her with pride and amazement. 6 months ago, my mommy was sad sometimes because she worked really hard but we didn't have very much money. And Daddy Theodore was sad sometimes because he had lots of money but he didn't have a family to share it with. The guests were completely silent, captivated by this little girl's wisdom. But then we found each other and now nobody is sad anymore. My mommy smiles all the time and Daddy Theodore laughs at my jokes and I have the best family in the whole world. She paused, looking around at all the adults watching her. The best part about families is that you can choose them. We chose each other and that makes us extra special. Love is the most important thing in the world and we have so much love that we could share it with everyone. As Sophia concluded her speech and climbed down from her chair, there wasn't a dry eye in the garden. Theodore scooped her up in his arms and hugged her tightly. That was the most beautiful speech I've ever heard, princess. It's true though. We do have the best family. Yes, we do. Later that evening, after all the guests had gone home and Sophia had fallen asleep in the car on the way back to their apartment, Theodore and Camille sat on their couch still wearing their wedding clothes, looking at their wedding photos and adoption papers. I can't believe she's legally mine now, Theodore said, studying the adoption certificate. She was always yours, Camille said, curling up next to her new husband. From the moment she asked you to be her daddy. And you? How does it feel to be Mrs. Bennett? It feels like coming home. Like everything in my life led to this moment. Theodore kissed his wife gently, then looked toward Sophia's bedroom where their daughter was sleeping peacefully. Do you think she knows how much she changed our lives? I think she knows exactly what she did. She saw two people who needed each other and decided to fix it. She's been the mastermind behind this whole thing from the beginning. Theodore chuckled. Our 5-year-old matchmaker. Our brilliant, wonderful, perfect daughter. They sat together in comfortable silence, both reflecting on the journey that had brought them to this moment. From a desperate job interview to a fairy tale wedding, from strangers to a family, their story had unfolded with the kind of magic that most people only read about in books. What do you think happens next? Camille asked. Next, we wake up every morning grateful for this life we've built together. Next, we watch Sophia grow up knowing she's loved unconditionally by both her parents. Next, we build traditions and make memories and probably spoil our daughter terribly. That sounds perfect. It is perfect. We're perfect. As they prepared for bed on their wedding night, both of them knew that this wasn't really an ending but a beginning. They had found their forever family, and tomorrow would be the first day of the rest of their beautiful life together. In her bedroom, Sophia smiled in her sleep, still wearing her purple flower girl dress because she had refused to take it off. In her dreams, she was surrounded by all the love and happiness she had wished for, and she knew that her family would be together forever. The next morning they would wake up as the Bennett family, Theodore, Camille and Sophia, bound together not by chance or obligation, but by the strongest force in the universe, love. And they all lived happily ever after.